Just over 2 weeks since the Commission of Inquiry into state capture began, and testimonies have been heard from various witnesses, opening and giving us greater insight into some of the allegations of abuse of power by senior government officials, also former President Jacob Zuma and the Gupta family. But things took another turn yesterday when legal teams from the Guptas and Duduzane Zuma made an application to cross-examine some of the members who have taken to the stand. So to reflect on the inquiry thus far, we're joined now by political analyst Professor Susan Booysen, who's now with, I understand, the Mapungubwe Institute. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Sakina. Good to be your guest.
So if we look at what has been going on at this Commission of Inquiry, would you agree that there's very little new that has emerged thus far, apart from perhaps more nuanced details about the behind-the-scenes going on?
Yes, indeed. So much of what we hear now have already been known in broad brushstrokes before from very good investigative journalism in South Africa. However, I am kind of stunned, one cannot help to be sort of almost taken aback by the amazing texture and the detail and confirmation of some pretty damning previous details coming together in one picture. And I think overall we are learning quite a bit about the textures and exact implementation. What did capture mean in practice? And it's a very damning picture that's emerging.
Well, you talk about learning, and one of the things I remember at the start of this commission, we spoke about, clarity on certain things. And as I'm watching this, reading up a few things, and I'm questioning some of what is actually going on. But this is just me, but I want your view on this as well. With regard to a process like this that is supposed to be an inquisitorial commission, the processes that have been followed thus far, are they correct?
Yeah, each commission comes with its rules. I do see points that I certainly wonder about. Also the fact that it is a type of one-sided parade of witnesses, and the senior legal counsel, paid by whoever knows, probably the taxpayers in the end, are sitting in the wings waiting to interrogate, to probably try to shred every piece of evidence that we've heard so far. And without the immediate right of us, the public, to hear those people on the stand as well. And so it can still be a very uneven, very unfair, I hope not, but it could still become a very unfair process, because these people are probably going to be turned into little shreds. But the big players are not being brought to account, and they probably don't want to be there because they can be give very self-incriminating evidence, and they can be forced to ask many uncomfortable questions. But I just wonder, a commission that doesn't bring that to the fore, what is the point of a commission like that? These are early days, and it could be very easy for us to say, let's give it a good period of time to unfold, but I think every bit of evidence that is laid so far needs to be guaranteed that it will have a fair run of the process further down the line.
One of the things, especially during Fakey Mentor's testimony, that stood out for me was how the evidence was being led, but then there seemed to be a lot of corrections being made to previous statements. So talk to us about that and the legality, the correctness, lawfulness of that particular process as well.
Yes. Whereas on the one hand, one has a lot of sympathy. Many of the events she was relating was from about up to a decade, sometimes even a little more ago. And it was a different political culture at that time. It was not a time where one rushed to one's notebook and said, I'd better put this in my diary. It's going to be important in due course to know that this is exactly what was said. This is exactly how things unfolded. It was there in awe of a president, of a powerful president who had not yet quite been discredited, at least not to the extent that we see today. And so many other events unfold around it. But those things that are being put to the test now, and on legal grounds, people, lawyers, advocates, there are probably going to have a field day with her evidence.
Absolutely. And just staying with Fakey Mentor for a moment, she expressed concern over intimidation, got very emotional about that. So, with regard to that, what do you think, it has really taken for some of these witnesses, Pumla Williams yesterday, KBC Jonas and Themba Maseko, it obviously had to take a lot for them to come out now and literally stick their necks out.
Oh, much. And, we just know for each one of those people, and just a small handful so far who have been giving evidence, there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, probably hundreds, of others who have not been courageous enough to come forward, who are not yet perhaps convinced that the political ground is shifting, that they will be able to get protection. People think about their own reputations, even if they have the tiniest little thing hidden away in their closets. That is likely to come out. They think of security of their families or their children when they appear there. And a few demonstrations of perhaps lock tampering at Fakey Mentor's hotel room, etc. That can go a long way to keeping many, many people silent. And that is going to be, I believe, one of the great tests of our time. Are people going to feel brave enough, convinced enough that the politics of the day are changing, and that people who do know but who are not speaking out now? And
but what are we supposed to make of that? Because one could argue that this commission would provide, in a sense, a safe space for people to come out and, like the ones who have already appeared before the commission, say their piece, unburden themselves, as it were. So if people are still not doing that at this stage, what are we supposed to read into that?
Well, it is that daunting political culture and the continuous imminence of the ANC. We saw that so graphically in Pumla Williams' evidence yesterday when she talked about the fact that she had to learn to think, this is not my minister, and this is not my ANC, my organization, my cadres, fellow cadres that are in charge here, that is the enemy. And that change in the minds of many, many people, civil servants, cabinet members who have been so much part of that, who are not yet speaking out, they still have to make that turn, to make that recognition.
Well, I tell you what, Professor Booysen, one of the other things that I found intriguing is also how the media has been reporting on this. But we're going to go to an ad break, and when we come back, we'll touch on that.